Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be working with this 24-ounce handled plump tumbler that I got from the Tipsy Magnolia, and I'm just going to base paint it with a flat white spray paint. Once our paint is dry to the touch, we're ready to move on to the next step. The cup that we are going to be recreating today is a tumbler that was one of my best sellers back in 2018. So this is a really old cup design that I used to do with much different materials than what I have now. So it was a lot of fun to recreate this, and I'm excited to share it with you. I've mixed 60 milliliters of my Flynn Sisters Artist Cure epoxy, and we're going to spread on about 15 to 20 milliliters of that. We want to put just a clear coat on our tumbler first so that our colorants have something to move around on. Once we've spread this coat on thin and evenly, I'm going to hit it with my torch to pop any bubbles, and then we're going to let this level out while we mix our other colorants with our remaining epoxy. I will be listing and linking all of the colorants seen in this video down below in the description box, so I'm not going to go over them in this video in too much detail. I will say though that for the sand color micas, I did mix 3 different mica colors together in equal parts to create that really tan, beautiful white sand color that you're going to see later on here in the video. I also used some white epoxy dye for what we'll use for the waves. So you'll see with our remaining epoxy, I've divided it amongst a few different medicine cups. In one of them, I've added a couple drops of the blue alcohol ink. In one, I put a couple drops of the teal color alcohol ink. In another, I mixed those 3 different mica colors to create the sandy one. I also put a couple drops of a tan colored alcohol ink. However, I don't think it made much of a difference than just mixing the micas together, so I'm going to leave that out of my list of colorants. And I also mixed the 2 glitters that we're going to use in some of the epoxy as well. So in total, I think there is 6 different medicine cups in which we've pre-mixed our colorants here. Starting in the middle, I'm going to use a glove finger to apply what will be the water of our beach scene. And I'm going to apply that right through the middle, taking care around my handle. And you'll see I'm not really glopping it on. We really just want to get enough on there to establish the color. Once I've got that on there, I'm going to move on to the blue for our sky. You can adjust the color of your sky by adding more or less of the alcohol ink. Just know that you can't take it away. So start with just a couple drops first to get this beautiful pale blue that we achieved here. When I'm applying this next color, I want to get right up against the first color, but I don't want them to intersect just quite yet. After I've applied the blue, I'm going to move on to the bottom to apply the sand, making sure to wipe off the finger of my glove between each color as to not contaminate the next. Because we applied that clear coat layer below the colorants, our colorants have room to move around and meet up against each other organically after a little bit of time and after we add more colorants in. So don't worry if there's some gaps between the colored sections at this stage. Next, we're going to start dropping our inks into the water section. I'm using the same blue alcohol ink that I used to color the epoxy to put into the sky, and I'm dropping that just directly into the teal section. Not adding too many drops. You can see here in the video how I have them staggered. Once I've got enough drops of the blue in there, I'm going to come in with the darker teal color, and I'm just going to drop that in between some of the sections that I might have missed with the blue, and some of them I'll drop directly into the blue to create some depth and dimension. Next, I'll take some of the remaining epoxy that I had mixed earlier with some of the alcohol ink for the teal section, and I'm going to just drizzle that in swirls through our water section to get some kind of movement going. Next, I started adding in the waves. This is the white epoxy dye that we had mixed in earlier, and I'm just applying this with a popsicle stick, making kind of squiggly lines along the shore, being careful to wipe off my stick with a paper towel or along my silicone mat before I dip it back into the white. I also don't want to scrape any kind of the blue into the sand, so just be careful with that. I also started drizzling in the glitter that I have mixed in the epoxy, the blue one. It's absolutely beautiful, and I think it looks like sun shimmering off the water. At this point, I did hit it with my heat gun with a nozzle attachment, just a little bit. I hit it here and there enough to get some movement. Not too much heat though. I don't want this to get too hot and start to really move around and get away from me. I'm also going to drizzle in some of the blue epoxy that we mixed earlier for the sky, and I'm just going to put that right along where the sky and the sea line meet to cover any white gaps there might be left. Making sure that we add some colorants to the handle too. And again, I'm just kind of drizzling in some more glitter where I think it needs it. You can also add in a little bit more of the white for more waves if you'd like. Just remember that less is more with this because we can always add more colorants, we just can't take away. Once I'm pretty much done adding colorants, I'm going to go in with my silicone brush tool, sort of swirl everything around. I'm going to wipe off the tip before I go into that white though if I want to manipulate those waves. Make sure we don't get any kind of contamination in that blue going too far into the sand. Finally, I'm going to add the gold glitter that we mixed with our epoxy earlier, and I'm just drizzling that into the sand section to get some extra shimmer and pizzazz. If we need to spread out the colorants any more at this point, instead of adding more heat, we're just going to move it around on our turner, tilting it up and down if we want to spread out that water section. And I just love how this turned out. At this point, you really need to just walk away from it. Let it do its thing. If you see any kind of spots that look a bit clumpy or weird, you could scoop them out with your silicone brush tool and wipe your brush tool off. Be very careful not to make everything kind of muddled. Finally, I'm going to take off my tape before my epoxy dries. I'm going to wipe off any excess epoxy from the bottom of my cup with some rubbing alcohol on a paper towel. And I'm going to let this dry for a few hours before we move on to the next step. My epoxy's been drying for at least 12 hours now, and I'm going to apply a second coat. This is what's really going to fill in all those dips and valleys from our colorants. You will notice everything's going to be a bit wavy in your colorant layer, and that's totally normal. We want to seal all those beautiful colorants in with a nice flood coat that's going to level all of that out. Once this coat is dry, which for me is about 12 hours or so, I'm ready to sand my rim and apply my decals, which I'm going to do later on. I'm not going to include that in this video. I mainly wanted to show you guys this technique. Let me know what you thought. If you want to make your own beach cup like this, be sure to tag me. I cannot wait to see them. If you like my video, be sure to give us a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I upload new videos every week. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. And a big thank you to all of our Flynn Sisters exclusive members. Thank you for your pledge. Your support means the world to our channel. If you love this video, you could check out our last video here. Also be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course subscribe for all our new videos that come out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.